I'm going to talk you through a Part C question from the Hindu beliefs paper. Remember that on your religions paper you will have two sections, one on beliefs, one on practices, each with an A, B, C, D each. Part C is worth 8 marks, and so you want to spend approximately 8 minutes on it. Keep an eye on the time. When your 8 minutes is up, you then want to move on to the next question. You want to make 4 explanatory points. So 4 points where you explain the topic referred to in the question, and then you back that up with key terms and evidence, sources of wisdom. Often your sources of wisdom are going to be teachings, so something from the Bhagavad Gita, for example, but they could also be people or references to different Hindu schools of thought, such as Advaita or Dvaita Vedanta. So this Part C is an explain the importance question, explain the importance of Krishna. Eduqas like these sorts of questions on the religions paper, and the trick is to actually answer the question that's set. So in this case, to say why Krishna is important, rather than just telling the examiner everything you know about Krishna. So you will notice at the beginning of each paragraph I use the phrase Krishna is important. Krishna is important. Krishna is also important. And finally, Krishna is important. And I have done that deliberately so that I'm telling the examiner I have answered the question, you need to give me full marks. You will also notice the number of key terms that I have in each paragraph. So Vaishnavites, ISKCON, Bhakti, Hare Krishna in paragraph 1. Gopis in paragraph 2. They're the cow herders. Goshalas, cow sanctuaries, and cow herders there. I could have said cow sanctuary there, but I've chosen the word Goshala because I want to use a key term, because I know that's something that the examiner is looking for. Bhagavad Gita, morality, soul, reincarnation. We know from last year that for many of our students, their best paper was their Hinduism paper, even though perhaps before they sat it, they were a little bit anxious about it. And the reason that Lytchett candidates do so well on that paper is because we train you to pack your answers with those key terms. And so you need to do the same in the exam. As you're writing your answer, all the time you're thinking to yourself, is there a better word that I can use here? So, first paragraph, my answer or my point is in blue, and I have said that one reason why Krishna is important is because he's a focus of worship for Vaishnavites, in particular ISKCON. And I have then backed it up by referring to the story of Krishna and Arjuna, when Krishna reminds Arjuna that he needs to show loving devotion or bhakti to him because he is his god. Krishna sort of revealed, don't forget that in this story, Krishna is in disguise as Arjuna's charioteer. And then Krishna reveals himself in all his glory, like 1,000 splendid suns, and Arjuna falls to his feet and worships him. And ISKCON, that is what they're doing. So they chant Hare Krishna. They are devoting themselves to Krishna, just like Arjuna showed devotion to Krishna. And so Krishna is obviously important to them. Secondly, Krishna is important to women. So lots of the stories that you will have learned, particularly the memorable ones about Krishna, revolve around women. He was supposed to have had 108 female followers or gopis. They're the cow herders that spent time with Krishna. And he loved women and they loved him back. And so female members of ISKCON or the Hare Krishnas would want to reciprocate that love, to give it back. There's also that story that I'm sure you remember, because it's a bit of an unusual one, of Krishna hiding in the tree, watching the girl swimming in the river naked. And again, it's that idea that Krishna was just in love with women. He thought they were amazing and beautiful. And so Krishna is important to them. Thirdly, the whole concept of revering cows and seeing them as sacred. And again, I've used the word revere deliberately. I'm trying to use technical religious language. But the whole idea of Hindus respecting, revering, thinking that cows are sacred is very much linked with the example set by Krishna. So you may remember the story of the little child Krishna stealing the butter and the women of the village all laughing. And it was that idea that Krishna loved cows and loved things associated with cows. And so in a similar fashion, modern members of the ISKCON movement will show that love for cows and will have their sanctuaries or their goshalas, and they will dedicate their lives to caring for cows and raising cows and looking after them. And then finally, Krishna is important because he gives knowledge to Hindus today and in the past. I could have spoken about him helping people escape Maya, that veil of illusion and trickery, but I didn't have time. I wanted to stick to my 8 minutes. But remember, in that story of the Bhagavad Gita with Arjuna and Krishna, Krishna educates Arjuna about who he is. So you should not be scared of fighting Arjuna, because what you actually are is a soul that is imperishable, and your physical body doesn't really matter. And so if Hindus want to be educated about who they are, what God wants, what's moral, so the story of Arjuna and Krishna is all about whether you should fight, then Krishna is a good source of wisdom and information. So to recap, it's a part C. I have made 4 explanation points backed up with sources of wisdom. Because it's a question about Krishna, that's mostly using the Bhagavad Gita, and in particular the story of Arjuna and Krishna. I've mentioned my first point is that Krishna is a key focus of worship for ISKCON. My second point is he's important to women. My third point is he's important because he sets the example of respecting and caring for cows. And fourthly, he's important because he's an important source of information and knowledge.